Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to another Tuesday tutorial. We're going to talk today about the circle of fifths. And now this is one of the most important tools that I know of for helping you to learn songs and to learn the music in which you are performing. Now, I'm going to put one up over on my shoulder here so you can have a look at it. The thing about the circle of fifths, you see all of these chord names around it, but it doesn't mean anything until it's explained, I think. At least for me, that was the case. I spent years looking at this and never understood it till after I'd learned a bunch of theory. Now, we don't need to learn a whole bunch of theory for this to make sense. We just need to have a basic grounding. Now, the way the circle works is as you go clockwise around the circle, you'll see that it goes up by 1/5 each time. So C, 1/5 up is G. G, 1/5 up is D. D, 1/5 up is A. Now, this is based on that number system of chords that you have probably seen where you see Roman numerals over the chord numbers and chord names. And so you would see C as 1, D minor as 2, E minor as 3, etc. And those of you who play blues have certainly heard about a 1-4-5 progression, referring to the fourth chord and the fifth chord when in those numbers, and the 1 being the root chord. So the circle of fifths goes up by fifths when you go clockwise, but when you go counterclockwise, it goes up by fourths. So from C, if you go counterclockwise, you go to F, which is 1/4 up. If you go a fourth up from F, you get to B flat. If you go a fourth up from that, you get to E flat, etc. So this is a great way for you to just see the relationship of chords in a very quick pattern. But of course, just looking at all of this, it can get kind of confusing. So what I like to do is turn it into a little pie, just like you see here. Now, that pie shows me just a segment of 6 of the chords that I'm highlighted. Now, in this particular case, the C, being our root chord, is right at 12 o'clock. And at 1 o'clock is the G, that's 1/5 up. And at 11 o'clock is the F, and that is 1/4 down. But what's really interesting about the circle of fifths is that second row on the inside that you see there that shows off D minor, A minor, and E minor. Now, each one of these are what are known as the relative minors of the chord above them. So when you're looking at a C chord, the A minor is the relative minor, and that is the 6th chord in the progression. So you've got the 6th chord right underneath it. Now, if you look under F, the 6th chord is your D minor, and that is, of course, the relative minor of our F chord. We know from our blues shuffle that when we add the D note to an F, we create D minor. When we look at G, if we add an E note to G, we create an E minor, and that means, of course, that E minor is the relative minor, the 6th chord of G. So by looking at this little wedge that we have here, you see that we have 6 of the 7 chords in any key represented in one tight little package. Now, the interesting thing about that is that the only chord missing is the diminished chord. This is the 7th degree of the scale. It's always a diminished. Now, I know some of you are sitting there going, but why is it always a diminished? I don't understand. If I understood all the rules of music theory that were ever made, I would be a much more important man than I am now. I hope I'm giving you a little bit of an insight to it. But from what I understand, as you build chords using the building blocks of music theory as it's laid out, the degrees of the scales are defined. This is what's referred to as chord harmony. And that pattern remains constant throughout every key that you work with in every situation. Now, that situation, we can go into that. I don't mind explaining it, but it's heady. It becomes a lot of thought process, and it's not necessarily useful immediately. So suffice to say that for any situation where you're playing, there are 7 chords in every key, and those chords are, in the key of C, for example, C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, and B diminished. And in that situation, what you need to take from that, and what I think you should take away from that, is that in every key, the pattern of chords will always follow major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Always. That means that any key that you want to learn a song in, there are 7 potential choices for the actual chord harmony of the piece. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean that there are only 7 chords that can be in that song. There are also decorations, augmentations to a chord where you add a 6th note or you add a 9, depending on the style of music. all of this affects the choice, but the principal chord remains that there are only 7 choices. So let's look at one of the possible uses of the circle of fifths. The first one, as we've just seen, was you can easily identify 6 of the chords in a key. Now this means that whenever you're listening to a song, or you've got a song that you're playing on the radio that you want to learn, all you have to do is put your tuner out there and identify the key of the song. If you can identify the key, you know what the bulk of the song could be made of, because you've already got these chords represented in B. So the song is in the key of C. We know that it's going to have a C, a D minor, an E minor, an F, a G, an A minor, or a B diminished. Those are its principal chords that are possible. And anything after that is exceptions or creative artistry. But let's say you've got a song and you've got all the chords and you can't sing the key because it's too high or too low for you, and you want to transpose. Now, of course, you could just take a capo and put it on your ukulele and move that C chord up as you want. But what if you need to go down? I mean, if you need to bring that all the way up to a B to sing it, for example, and you've got your capo way up here on the 10th fret, you're not going to get much out of the ukulele at that space. So what you can do now is, using that wedge that I show you, you can turn on the circle of fifths that wedge to show you the chords in a different key. All you have to remember is that at 12 o'clock has to be the root. So if I take my little wedge, if I'm using the key of A, I've got my little wedge there. I've got the clock metaphor fails a little bit here, but if you look at it from a point of view of the center, if I turned A around up to the top, I have got A in the middle. To the counterclockwise one step is D, which is the 4th. Clockwise one step from A is E, which is the 5th. I've got B minor, I've got C sharp minor, I have got F sharp minor, and the only thing I'm missing is G sharp diminished. And so this is how the wonderful way in which this works, and it allows me to quickly transpose any song because I can just turn it around and go and substitute. So if I see a C chord and I want to move it to A, I go, okay, C, well, all the C's are A's, all the F's are D's, all the G's are E's, and suddenly I've got the chords transposed. Of course, I still have to learn the chord shapes. That's work I can't shortcut for you. But this tool can help you identify those keys and choose your arrangements of a song, or your key arrangements of a song, very quickly. And the nice thing about it is, you don't need to have any fancy memory to make this work. Of course, if you want to memorize all this, it's a wonderful thing to have it in memory. But really, take a little circle of fifths. There's hundreds of them on the internet. Print one off and throw it in your ukulele case. And then you've got this tool that you can look at. In fact, I know more than one person who has gone to the extreme length of tattooing a circle of fifths onto their arm. I'm looking at you, Clarice, as one of the people. Anyway, so this is a great reference tool for all musicians. It's a great reference tool for all ukulele players. And I encourage you to get to know it, because it can really broaden your sense of understanding of how songs work, because you'll start to see the same kind of patterns playing over and over again depending on the key of the song. You will see that many songs are pretty much the same, even if they're in a different key. It's the same as this other song, but because it's in a different key, the melody feels different. May not actually be any different. So anyway, there you have it. There's your quick little video about the circle of fifths today. I hope you enjoyed this, and please take the time to share it around with all your friends and spread the word. You know the way social media works: like, comment, and share. That's how these things get spread. I also want to take a moment to thank all of my Patreon subscribers. Thank you for being a part of this channel. Thank you for being a part of my journey as a musician, and for being a part of this. Now, for those who don't know, Patreon is a service that allows you to sponsor these videos. In my case, I make 2 videos a month that I give away free to all of you, and my Patreon subscribers are the people that pay me to do this, for these videos that you are watching for free. So take a look, follow the link. If it suits you, stick around. There's lots of behind-the-scenes content for the Patreon subscribers that no one else sees. So I officially make 2 videos a month, but Patreon subscribers see 3, 4, even 5 videos a month, depending on the month I'm in, because they get content on other weeks. Anyway, thank you once again. I will see you in 2 weeks for another tutorial video. And of course, for my Patreon subscribers, I'll see you next week.